One of the common criticisms tossed at Xbox, and especially over the last generation, the Xbox One generation, is that Xbox doesn't have any console seller games. There's no games on there that's worth getting the Xbox system. And I think that actually is a really good case. I think it's a good point. I do think PlayStation, where they dominate, even Nintendo, where they dominate, is they have these games that are so iconic to their platforms that people want to get them, these really die-hard single-player games. Xbox hasn't necessarily come out with those in the last generation. Part of the reason they got Bethesda, I think, was to kind of silence those critics and to put up these single-player games. Having said that, I think most players in 2021 are playing multiplayer games. And I think that they do have very strong exclusives. And I think this story right here kind of punches back against that perception that they don't have exclusives. Well, they do have exclusives. They just don't have the big power-hitting single-player exclusives that maybe do sell consoles. But I don't think Xbox is concerned about selling consoles anymore. I think they're concerned about getting you in their ecosystem, which is much bigger than consoles. So let's talk about this story. Xbox dominates Steam top sellers chart for a second week in a row. This is a news story over at purexbox.com. We're going to jump into it. We're going to dive into it. We're going to talk what games are hitting high on the chart, what this means for the future, and is this proof that Xbox is just fine when it comes to exclusives? Or do they still need to get those big power hitter exclusives in order to compete with a PlayStation or even a Nintendo? Before we jump into it, though, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. My name is X1 the Gamer. This is the XoneBros. We're dropping daily videos. We're about all things Xbox and positive gaming. Indeed, we've built a positive gaming and Xbox community. Hit the like button, subscribe. We've got a podcast that drops every Friday, and let's jump into it. So this is a news story over at, again, purexbox.com. And a week ago, Xbox games were crushing it. It looks like this is the second week in a row that on Steam, Xbox is destroying. Here's what they have to say. In the Steam Weekly Global Top Sellers chart for the week ending the 4th of July, 2021, Sea of Thieves has retained its spot as the best seller on the PC platform, followed by Forza Horizon 4, which shot up to second place. Impressively, Forza Horizon 4 actually had 2 entries in the top 5 based on different versions of the game. This would be the add-on version, the VIP version, versus the standalone vanilla version of Forza Horizon 4. Now, both of these games do have something huge in common. They both really had marquee showcasings at E3, thus not only, I think, justifying having an E3 press conference every year, but showing the power of doing really well at E3. Sea of Thieves had their Pirates of the Caribbean. Jack Sparrow is jumping in. That DLC that just dropped shows that everybody wanted a piece of that, wanted to jump into it, and by all critics' review, it's doing really well and is completely worth it. On top of that, Forza Horizon 5 was unveiled, and everybody said, wow, that is a beautiful game. That looks like something special. And Forza Horizon and the Forza series for its part, I mean, just absolutely crushes and owns that genre of the gaming space, the racing genre, both the hardcore racing and the arcade open world racer. That is Forza Horizon 4. It's really interesting. Let's look at the chart, actually. This is the top sellers chart ending in 4th of July, 2021. We see Sea of Thieves right there, which was number 1 last week. And then we see number 2 on this sales chart, Forza Horizon 4, which was number 4 last week. So it's just jumping up. I think this is absolutely huge. And then here's the second edition of Forza Horizon 4, because there's 2 different editions, which is back to number 5. So you've got 2 different versions there. What's interesting as well is, check this out. Halo the Master Chief Collection is number 5 from 343 Industries, i.e. a Microsoft studio. And I think that that's big, and I think that bodes well for Halo. I think it bodes well for Halo Infinite that's coming up, and I do think it shows that Halo as a brand is not dead. That has kind of been a talking point. Should they move on from Halo, or is that still the marquee game? Is it what it once was? And I do think it has staying power. Proof right here that on PC it is still number 7. And that's because of its multiplayer. Halo Master Chief Collection's multiplayer. I don't think people that are jumping into that are jumping into it for the single player experience. Even though if you want to go back and experience the single player games, I mean, it's definitely the game to do so. It is so much fun to go back, relive them. But for me, it's more of a nostalgic experience. I'm not sure that a kid or a new player or a new person to the Halo series is going back and enjoying those like I did, because I played them originally, so I have a lot of memories attached to that. Regardless, I mean, and so what I'm trying to say is I do think Halo in that number 7 spot. It's the multiplayer. The multiplayer is fantastic across all of the series, all the genres. It's so much fun. Bundling all those in one package, Halo Master Chief Collection, it's just a ton of fun. And so I think that's good. So if you look at the top 10, 3 of the top 10 are Microsoft exclusive games. And I think that's big. And I do think that this speaks to the overall strategy of Xbox going away from just being concerned about console. Them releasing their games simultaneously on PC, running in Steam, and being available on Game Pass. Game Pass for PC does show that there is an appetite for these games. Multiplayer games do really well on PC. I mean, that's just it. Forza Horizon 4 at its core is a multiplayer racer. Sea of Thieves at its core is a multiplayer sandbox game. A lot of streamers stream it, and that's part of the fun in watching it. It's what shenanigans can people get into. Halo Master Chief Collection, again, multiplayer at its core. When you look at the number 3, you then have Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Game of the Year edition from Software. Now, that is a... You can't play multiplayer in it, but that's primarily a single-player game. Look at Battle Unknown or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, multiplayer. Rust, multiplayer. It Takes Two, multiplayer. Red Dead Redemption, single-player. So, I mean, that's just a fantastic game. And running out your top 10 there. Regardless, I'm kind of getting off topic here. Regardless, I do think this is really good for Xbox. I think it shows that Xbox's strategy is a smart one. The question here is, this is on Steam, so this is Steam's global charts. I would like to know the numbers between Steam's global charts and Xbox Game Pass for PC numbers. How do those compare? I would imagine Steam's numbers are just so much higher because when you think of PC gaming, Steam is where everybody's at. It's the Steam library that everybody has. And can Xbox Game Pass for PC merge its way, get its way in there with everybody else to become as synonymous with PC gaming as Steam has been? I think that's going to be an uphill battle. I think that's going to be something that's very difficult. Regardless, having Xbox games top selling on Steam, whether it's on Steam or on Game Pass, it doesn't matter. It's still good for Xbox. And I think over time, as people, hey, you bought this game over on Steam, you could have just paid this subscription and had access to it with Game Pass for PC, along with, here's 100 plus more games that you could have access to. Regardless, it's good news for Steam. It's good news for Xbox. I do think it shows that Xbox is on the right trajectory. And I think we're going to see a time where Xbox not only continues to do well on PC, but I think begins to dominate on PC. Yes, that's right. I said dominate. Those are big words. That might be a little bit hyperbolic. I don't mean for it to be hyperbolic. What I mean is when we look at the top 10 charts on Steam, I can foresee a time where 5 of the top 10 games are Xbox exclusive games. Sea of Thieves, Forza. And right now you're telling me, oh, well, that doesn't mean they're not Xbox exclusive. Well, they are Windows. I mean, Xbox owns Windows, right? Windows 11, part of their thing was play, connect, game, as part of their presentation of the new Windows 11. So regardless, and that's the advantage that Microsoft has in the PC space, is that they just want you, they just want you in their ecosystem. That's a part of their ecosystem. You've got the Xbox app that's going to be, I would imagine, at the forefront of that Windows 11 experience, but we've yet to see. Again, regardless, I said regardless. How many times can I say regardless? Drinking game. Take a drink. I think that this is good. I think it's good news for Xbox. I think it's fantastic news for a game like Sea of Thieves, Forza Horizon 4, Halo Master Chief Collection. I think it bodes well for Forza Horizon 5 and for Halo Infinite. And it's going to be fun and exciting to see how this continues to evolve, how this continues to progress. I also do think this is proof positive that having an E3 event is good. Brings hype, gets you sales of your old games, gets people back into new games or new experiences via DLC with a game like Sea of Thieves. I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Xbox is going to do well on PC? Let me know in the comments below. Or do you think that that's just the pipe dream? Again, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to this channel. My name is XoneTheGamer. Thank you very much for joining me, and we'll see you.